You all for joining us tonight. It is a here where we are. It's a rainy Thursday night. It's nice though. It's not hot, so hopefully you all have been getting a break from the heat wave.
Yeah. Oh,
Someone giving us some
peace
hearts.
and
Thank you.
love. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all for joining us tonight. And we have a special topic for you all tonight, I think, and it is the importance of homemakers. So shout outs to all the homemakers out there tonight, housewives, homemakers, all of you all. You all really do make the world go round, especially with the important roles that you all have with raising the family, raising the children, and we thank you all. So here's to you.
Yeah. And at the end, we'll be sure to thank our lovely men, our amazing, strong men who stand behind and pick up the family and support what it means to be a house homemaker and a housewife. I don't, the term housewife has kind of been used as a derogatory term
Has it?
over time. Yeah, because they try to associate it with, oh, women aren't good for much, but just taking care of the home, when it's so much bigger than that, and for the men that really understand that, and they really provide the opportunity for a woman to be a housewife and a homemaker is an amazing thing. But
Right,
this whole thing was inspired by a great question.
right. But before we do go further, I do want to go back and address something with the comments from the daily wrap up crew video that we did with them and all the people who are commenting. Is that the fact that I did state that I retired my wife early, and what I mean by that is retired her out of the workforce. There's a lot of ignorant people out there in the comments, and I really love it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Um, and a lot that some people just not cannot grasp the concept of someone being retired out of the workforce, being the fact that we are all in it. I mean, a lot of us are still in it, and to me, it is a great reward to have my wife as the homemaker of our family and her wanting to be in that role.
Yeah.
Shouts out, like I said, to all those women who want to do it. And it is a priceless position to be in, because you all do so much for society by raising great families and making sure that the family unit is taken care for constantly, 24 hours, 7 days a week. So that's what I meant, for those people who could not understand what I meant by I retired my wife and she's no longer working in the workforce. Now she's very resourceful. Homemakers are very resourceful. I think we're going to probably talk into that, but you'll see what the illustration of what that looked like in the case that you did not grow up with your mother as a homemaker or a housewife, so that you all better understand the position. And for those who are out there who, especially those people who left those negative comments, that you can't fathom or understand the thought of being a housewife. So hopefully we can set the record straight and understand that what the value of this housewife and how much responsibility she has, and also the like I said, how precious she is to the family unit.
Yeah. Yep. And shout out to all the men who recognize that from the comments. I don't really
Right.
read the comments, but from what,
What?
The ones that people did reach out, like, I do like
Right.
the people reaching out and that directly to us. And they were saying, like, yeah, thanks for setting this example and just showing it, because, it's a teamwork effort, and it's really just about helping to contribute to making wonderful, strong, solid families. And we're going to go through some statistics that back this up. We're going to
Right.
go through some examples. And of course, we're going to get into my whole ideology on it and all that. But, let's just dig into this question, because this would really was inspired by it. And it makes me wonder if this question actually came from someone who might have seen that interview, because, it's directly kind of related to it. But I don't know. It is one of
Can I
our
say one
numbers.
more
So,
thing?
yeah.
The chess analogy. So I look at the wife of the household like the queen on the chessboard. She's the most valuable piece on that chessboard. Now, I'm not trying to pander to women or anything like that. I'm just stating facts. The woman, the wife in the household, the the queen on the chessboard is very valuable. And for all those people who play chess out there, you understand what I mean, that she can
For the
travel,
team, yeah.
right? She can travel long distances on the chessboard and annihilate your opponents. But also too, at the end of the day, once the king is captured on that board, the game is over.
Yeah.
So ultimately, too, also too, if your queen is captured from off that board, it's hard to play the game.
Yeah.
You have to rely on your other pieces of your team in order
Yeah.
to win the chess game. So that's
Yeah.
how I look at my wife, my queen, and also too, especially housewives, because you all, like I said, the value of you all is priceless to me.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that's I just wanted to throw that out there as well.
Yeah,
So
every queen needs her king,
right.
and that is for
And
sure.
without the king, the game is over. So
Right, exactly. And the king should want the support of the queen. That's the beautiful part of it. So
right.
hopefully men are doing the part of getting themselves together and wanting to have a wife. Because, it's not necessarily that the wife has to be a homemaker solely at home all the time. I will be one to certainly admit that I worked outside the house and still was a homemaker. So it was like double the jobs, but it helped us get to the place that we're at. But anyways, let's head on into our question because we kind of chit chatted a bit on this and I really want to dig into the topic. Again, I'm a little sick, so excuse me, but we're going to keep it pushing because that's what we do. All right, so you logged up on the thing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the subject was housewife. It was a really quick question. The lady said, I've heard being a stay-at-home wife and a mother is not as fulfilling as having a career, but I've always wanted to be a housewife. What's your experience? So I thought this was cool. It was a personal, this kind of really what inspired the whole thing, but that's what kind of got me thinking on, wow, it has the term housewife has for some time been kind of used as a derogatory way to just say that, the woman is only good for taking care of her home and her family, and that's not fulfilling.
That's not
right, but
derogatory. That's
in the
ignorance.
sense of the ignorance, exactly. Thank you. Yeah, that's a good word. But they neglect the fact that's really out of ignorance because they neglect the fact that a woman, when she chooses to be a homemaker, you are really making a significant contribution to your family, the community, and believe it or not, the economy. And we'll get into this, as we go on, but homemakers really do deserve that appreciation and respect for, what they do. And women, that role hasn't been it hasn't been appreciated. It hasn't been respected as much as it used to be. And if you look at the way society is, being that it has gone so unrecognized and over time there still the importance of being a homemaker remains essential. It's really a vital role with creating a solid foundation for families, for really even when the family goes out, most importantly into the community, because we are all byproducts from where our home is and where we come from. So if your home isn't in order, if your home isn't structured, if your home doesn't provide that love, that comfort, that peace, then you're going out into the world lacking some vital things that you need to make a big positive contribution on the world. Because if you look, a lot of children aren't receiving the love that they need and the caring that they need. And ultimately, what I want to say before I kind of get into my personal experience, but for this woman who's saying, I've always wanted to be a housewife, but I've heard that it's not as fulfilling, just check your sources. Who you're getting your information from? Are these women that have been loved for and cared for by a good man who understood her value and also understood his value and was able to then work together as a team to create a beautiful, harmonious home? That's really why Wifeconomics was created. Ultimately, aside from the whole aspect of teaching women about, having understanding men and having a good relationship and knowing how to be a wife, but also how to care for the home and how to help support the home and provide a loving environment that's really, really beneficial and needed. In particular, the social service is the number one reason why most women choose to be homemakers, and that choice of wanting to provide that service, that is where your fulfillment really comes from. It's selfless in the act. I'm fulfilled from feeding my children, knowing that they come from me. I'm fulfilled I'm fulfilled feeding my husband, taking care of him, being there for him, supporting him. That fulfills me. That makes me happy. It's great to know that I am a source for them to come to and get something from, and I can fill them up and they fill me up as well too. A lot of the times, which we'll also get into in here too, what happens is women don't take care of themselves in the midst of that, or maybe they're even underappreciated by someone in their family or their husbands or whatever the case may be. Those unfortunate situations that often end up controlling the narrative of this dialogue of what it means. But for those women who are in those great relationships and are in those healthy homes, they are fulfilled being a homemaker. They are very much fulfilled being a homemaker, and it is very much a fulfilling job when it's done to the best of your abilities in the right way. So that's just one thing I wanted to say. What did you want to say in response to that? If we want to take the question down.
Um, I mean, I really don't have any response to that per se, but it's just the perception of what, how other women, the working career woman, look at being a housewife. And in relation to the comments that we did get from our video with the Daily Wrap Up crew, and how a lot of these women they come off very selfish. They come from a place of not
getting that love themselves,
right? That trauma. They come from a place of that trauma, and then they look at being a housewife, and some of them have honestly admitted that it's not for me. You know, some women have said they tried it and it's not for them because they like to be out of the home, and into the world, the career world, working for someone else.
Yeah, and that's a misconception too.
Right.
Like, we're just trapped in the house. Like, we don't go nowhere. We can't have hobbies and stuff, which we'll greatly indulge into. But that's a big misconception.
Well, I mean, it's just for some women, they've been used to not being in the house. So that's where, you know, women have been working. Well, after World War II, 1940s, women have been working outside the home and have been given opportunities to get jobs and careers and things. I mean, but even, you know, before that, you know, especially in the Black families after slavery, women did work outside the home too in order to make money, cleaning the houses and things like that as well. So, you know, but rarely, you know, women nowadays young girls nowadays do not grow up saying that, oh, I want to be a homemaker and a housewife as you know, as a goal, as an ambition. And there's a lot of things you can credit it to, you know, lack of home economic programs in high school and school curriculum and things like that. Or, you know, or just, you know, women advancing in careers or what have you. But, you know, they remain still a solid stable in society. Like you've mentioned, I agree with that. But I think that a lot of women are not wanting to do these things anymore. They love their careers. They became more, you know, they became more of service. They became more of service to their careers and to themselves. And they see the challenge of being a housewife. Some may have seen that challenge of a housewife and they could not stand up to that challenge and failed, or either they just don't like being of service to anybody. So I'm not trying to say that these women are lazy, but they don't come from that place to where they are committed to this duty of being a homemaker.
Yeah. And
that's, I mean, that's up to you. I mean, I'm not trying to throw shade at anyone, not at all. But if not being a housewife or a homemaker is not for you, it just ain't for you. Right? You know, it's just not cut out for you.
Right. You know, I think that's daunting. Like you said, it's getting seemed kind of daunting.
Yeah, I mean, I have a high appreciation for what my wife does. Being around 3 toddlers. Well, you know, a second grader and 2 toddlers all day. Men, you know, I seen that last interview with Andrew Tate and Candace Owens, and he stated that, you know, he couldn't fathom being around children all day. You know, they take. They want, and it's and then all the loud noise. And I love my children dearly, trust me, but you all know, if you all raise children, little children, they can get on your nerves. And you love them to life, but it's exhausting. Right. Mentally, it's exhausting. And men, we aren't the nurturers of the family. We're like, we are the you know, the providers for the family. So being around children all day is exhausting to me, and also to the housewife as well.
But we're built.
But yeah, right. You all are built to nourish. You all are built to to embrace these type of behaviors from children.
Yeah.
But also too, you do all need your self-care, which we're going to talk about as
Mhm.
well. It's a balance. It
Yeah.
is a harmonious balance in which once you get into it, you will find it. You have no choice but to find that harmonious balance in which you're able to take care of yourself and your children as well.
Yeah.
But I agree, it is not for every woman. It is not for every man.
Not the faint of heart.
Right.
Not,
It ain't.
it ain't.
It's not.
And you can't, like, for real, people underestimate it because some women just not built for it, because you can't be lazy. It literally is it's like I never forget when long time ago you said you I think I can't remember what was going on during that time, but I just do remember you saying for you it's a marathon, like it, and
Right,
you
it is.
applauded that, like, for something I was doing. I think, I don't know, I can't really remember, but I just remember you saying that, and I thought to myself, that's true, because for the man, you come in and you're with your kids and stuff like that, but it's not like consistently 24 hours, because my job, I don't clock out. Right. I don't have sick days. I don't have vacation time. I don't have, and in fact, if we do take a vacation, it's even more work sometimes, and holidays and all that other stuff. It's that understanding of that. But it's for the woman, if you're built for it, it is like a marathon. So it does become easier, and it's again fulfilling.
Right. Because you're still taking care of your children until they're adults.
Yeah.
So until they're,
and I love taking care of you. That's part of it too. So.
Right. Well, I mean, the main thing is the main thing is the children.
Yeah. Right. That's the usual reason why. Right. Yeah.
Taking care of the children, and that isn't over until all of them are out of the home.
Right.
And so. Yeah, like I said, you're right, that it is a marathon, especially if like you're sick, not feeling, you're a little bit under the weather now. That adds even more of an element to taking care of the family,
right? Because you still keep it pushing, like you still go through, you still do it, and I'm used to that. Like this, to me, I guess it's what makes this kind of easy, even doing this and the consistency of doing it, because I'm used to that. That being a homemaker gave me such a discipline that I couldn't have fathomed from any other job, to believe it or not, because it is that level of consistency of doing it no matter what. No days off. I'm sick, you sick, we all sick, we doing it, we keep it pushing. Right. And that is just what keeps us like going. And I don't know, it's just that discipline and the skills that I had to learn, the person I had to become, just it's work, but it really does benefit you. So it's not for the faint of heart, and you can't be lazy, like, at all. But in particular, though, there have even been a few studies that have associated homemaking and the mental health, because that was actually one of the things that I've commonly heard, kind of going along with the stigma of, it's not as fulfilling as a homemaker or whatever. And it's because people say, like, oh, they're more likely to get anxiety and depression. That's actually not true. In fact, a couple of studies have come out. For example, the Social Science and Medicine in 2010 found out that homemakers had a lower risk of depression and anxiety than women who worked outside the house. And this study looked at the data from over 10,000 women within the United States, and they found that the risk of depression was 25% lower for homemakers, and the risk of anxiety was 15% lower.
Wow. I can imagine that to be true.
Yeah.
I'm not to cut you off or anything, but women, men, I mean, when we are trying to perform for other people at our jobs, that creates anxiety and stress.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, when you're tasked with a job or a project which may seem impossible to do, that draws on your stress and your anxiety. And then also too, for women, take it upon the account that you all have cycles that you all have to go through. That is, if you're if you have to perform through all of that, that's even more strenuous.
Yeah,
I would say.
Yeah.
And that is true. I can see that being a real thing at 25% lower as far as depression and 15% lower as far as anxiety. Yes.
Yep. And another study published in the Journal of Psychiatric Services, this was found in 2012, and it had, similar results, where they looked at the data of over 2,000 women in the United States, and they found the same thing, that it was a lower risk of depression, and that it was also a lower anxiety within the role for being a homemaker. And of course, what comes to mind for me is because you have more control over your work environment. I have complete
Right.
control. You have afforded me a freedom that I could have never had working for somebody else. I don't have to clock in. As much as you complain about, people clock, I don't clock out. Well, I don't clock in either. Like I pick
You don't have to
my
drive. You
schedule.
don't have to fight
Yeah, like
traffic.
yes, that you have, and that's why again I seriously appreciate you and all the men who understand and want to allow their wife to have this opportunity and who work hard for us to even to do that, because the level of stress that you take on, you have given me the freedom to not have that stress because I'm not clocking in. I'm not having to worry about all that.
And
And
deadlines and all
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah, you get to set your own hours, you get to work at your own pace, and ultimately too, you're able to reduce your own stress. So there's many times, like we're going to get into a little later, but just being able to have that own social support for not having to work outside the home, you have it where your husband is able to support you, and then you're able to work on your mental health if you need to, or any other ways. You can take your breaks when you need to, being able to work in self-care and all that, which we'll be sure to get in for our lovely homemakers out there, because that is a huge part of being able to do your job to the best of your abilities. But just overall, being able to have that freedom of having set your own hours and working at your own pace is an amazing thing. So I greatly encourage, if this is something you want to do and strive towards, you can set goals with your spouse to work towards that, if it's especially something you want to do with children. Because also the main reason for all of this, aside from homemakers being able to create a safe and comfortable environment for everyone involved, the women included, we are able to create that clean, organized, stocked with food. We're able to do all this self-care and well-being care for our family that's loving and warm and inviting. That is, of course, a huge advantage of being a homemaker. But aside from all of that, we're able to be a model of a lot of skills that are greatly beneficial for children to learn and to pick up on and see. We're able to teach our children hands-on how to cook, how to clean, how to do laundry, how to manage your time, how to work out, how to be kind, how to have compassion, how to have respect. I always get compliments on just the behavior of our children because they learn from me
Right.
directly. These are how we are.
And I wanted to add too that you are also you also homeschool our children as
Yeah.
well. And that is one aspect that a homemaker, a housewife, also has the ability to do so as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of people complain about public education now in these times,
Yeah.
and especially coming out of COVID, I think that homemakers probably fared very well.
The families, yeah.
Yep, and those families probably fared very well and probably did not fall that far behind in literacy and mathematics and what have you in schooling, and especially if the wife is a homemaker.
Yeah, you're more prepared to handle the emergencies. You're less controlled by outside environment, and the man and the woman, but mainly in particular when the man is able to allow his wife to stay at home, he also has more control over his education of his children and who's teaching them what they're learning. I understand living in the world that we are in now. It's a lot, and for some people it can seem risky. They may think,
dangerous.
or dangerous, right? And they may think that, because the woman's not directly clocking in to another job, that she's unable to make money. But that's, of course, we're going to get into that later, because that's completely not true. But in general, you're able to have more control over your family and household than if somebody else is the one who's taking care of your children most of the time. Because ultimately what happens is, if both parents are working, someone else is taking care of the children, whether they go to public school, private school, daycare, whatever the case may be. Someone else is directly teaching your children. And unless you have the money to actually be able to pick and choose the curriculum, the school, based off of the school of what they're learning, your child is now immersed more into a lot of things that you may not have wanted, just because they're around,
They're being led by someone else.
Yeah, and that's
under the supervision.
Yeah, and that's something to really, really now more than ever, that's important to consider. What are they teaching our children?
Mm-hmm.
Who's watching our children? what's going on, like being able to have more control over that.
Right.
That is big.
And then I mean, and also too, like I mentioned the dangerous aspect of it, all the the security aspect of it. I always say that, once you step foot out of your door to go and leave your home, you're not necessarily promised to come back.
Yeah.
And I think you all understand, once your children get on that school bus, they're not necessarily promised to come back off that school bus, if you all know what I mean. Sadly, things happen at school and dealing with security and crazy people in the neighborhood. I don't want to dive deep into it, but
Yeah.
that's one of the things that we don't have to worry about dealing with our children being homeschooled, because you are a housewife.
Yeah. Yeah, it's important to just pay attention to who's raising your children and just having more control over that. So again, we are sympathetic to the fact that this isn't always possible for a lot of people. We completely understand that. But what we are big advocates for is that there's always a goal. And
Right.
if you can make this
That
a
goal
goal
Yep.
somehow, some way, and work diligently towards it, you can make it a reality. We need to get back to raising our own children. We need to get back to teaching our own children. And then, too, this is a part of the appreciation part too. Some homemakers that I have known, particularly growing up, they were also taking on the role of teaching other children because they were already homeschooling. They were able to take in other children from the communities and being able to homeschool them as well. So if we just in general can look as a community to figure out how we can work together and build up our communities to really be able to be the ones teaching our children and, taking care of our communities and families, then I really think it will move us further along as a society versus the divide of, not so much being hands-on on what our kids are learning and who they're learning from. Just being able to work towards that. But anyway, some observational studies have looked, and again, I want to make note that these are observational studies. So these aren't always the case, but the studies have shown that children raised by homemakers and their success in school being directly linked to having higher success in school. So if you look at the fact that some homemakers do send their children off to school or some, do not, those who are homemakers, they have that more individualized time with their children. And like you mentioned with the whole COVID thing, a lot of families were immersed into, oh no, who's teaching the kids now, because the kids were then on lockdown. And we are seeing the results of a lot of families not having the opportunity to, or even having the ability to teach their own children, because then when COVID happened, their children weren't learning for a certain period of times. And now we're seeing the direct results of test scores being lower, children not being able to read at higher levels. And it's because I think so much of our community has gotten so far as to letting the outside world raise our kids versus us already having at least some hand and some main responsibility in being the one of teaching your children and helping them develop.
Right. Yeah. I mean, case in point, that school that LeBron has, like only 4 of the kids in that 8th grade class like passed the math.
Really? I heard about that, but I didn't read into it.
Yeah, they have failing scores
Okay.
dealing with mathematics and reading. So
okay.
And that's coming out of COVID. We're still 3 years, about what, a year and a half coming out of COVID, I think.
Okay.
We came out in 21? For some people, probably, around 21, 2021.
After lockdowns was over. Okay.
So this 23, so about a year and a half, lockdown has been over. And you're seeing those results of it, like my wife is saying, dealing with the struggling test scores of children,
Yeah.
So they're years behind, and they have to play catch up in order to look competitive as far as test scores go.
Yeah. We also I did want to make mention Instagram. Thank y'all for tuning in, and YouTube too. But I do see a request to join the live, and so we will be sure to get to that. So just hold on just a little longer. We just want to get through some of these for this. But one study in particular for child development, and in the Journal of Child Development, they found that children who were raised by homemakers were scored better on their standardized testing than, working mothers. And this looked at a couple of data from about 1,000 children within the United States.
So a
And
small sample.
yeah, just a very small sample. As I said, these are observational studies, so very small samples, but it was about 10 points. And then also that they were reading at a higher grade level as well too. And then also, homemaker children from families with homemakers were more likely to graduate high school and to attend college than children raised by working mothers. Again, this is observational. This is not saying that this is the case for, all even homemakers too, or all working mothers. But, it has been shown because of having that more individualized time with their child, having that flexibility of being able to teach, it's, certainly going to provide an extra layer of stability onto the overall family dynamic. And this is important because your children are going to then go out into the world. So it's very important. But homemakers are also very smart, and statistically they are shown to actually have more likely to have a college degree than the general population.
Wow.
So that's a statistic that some people underestimate, because they think that housewives or homemakers aren't smart, when in fact it can be completely the opposite. The amount of trades and skills that you take on, I'm constantly reading and learning and doing new things and learning how to take care of my family, so that it just, your ability to think and critically think and to budget, and it's just, we're not dumb. And this is certainly just as fulfilling as going after your own careers, like that woman was saying. But homemakers also are very creative. So there are plenty of ways to make money through freelance work, online websites, blogs, selling crafts, products, babysitting, pet sitting. It's so many different things. And again, that's where the appreciation of the man really comes in, because you afford the opportunity for me to have that freedom to be creative. I have created so many things from just being in this safe space, happy, content, being able to create from that space versus being able to create from the space of necessity, being able to create from the space of, need, or like fear, or
desperation,
or just completely. So it's really helpful, and it will definitely create other avenues. There's never been a time where that's again a stigma, because there's never been a time where the woman, even if she was a housewife, wasn't working. She was always sewing clothes, or like cooking
making
dinners,
dresses,
or
because my
like
grandma made dresses. And her and her sisters made dresses. Lots of dresses, and sold dresses, and things like that. So I didn't know that until she passed. I knew her sisters did, but I didn't know in particularly that my grandma made dresses. That's amazing.
Yeah, my grandmother was a homemaker, and she was a midwife on the side. And that's actually what helped. I think her DNA, of course, flowing through me. I had 3 natural births at home through that. So it's being able to learn a whole lot of different things, and taking that knowledge and actually being able to give back into the community. That flexibility is something that's untouched, and working mothers unfortunately don't get that freedom as much as a stay-at-home mother does. So that's just one thing certainly to consider, and certainly to want to aspire to as a woman. I think that is amazing as a woman, that we were even always allowed that position to do that. Like, I think God blessed us, and for the fact that women think of it as, some women thinking of it as being less than, is, I just can't believe, it's astonishing to me, because I feel like that's such a blessing. Like, for God to have given us such great natural abilities to take care of a family, and then to appoint man to then be the head of that, to allow the woman to then be in her natural role and take care of her family, is like a beautiful blessing and a miracle that, I don't know, I always aspired to be a housewife and to actually take care of a family. And in particular, when it came to this woman and she said, I always wanted to be a housewife, I wonder, what is your reasonings behind it? Because mine wasn't to have this, what is this soft life I've heard about. I don't really know what that is. So I don't want to necessarily speak on it,
Maybe
but
like a lady of luxury or something.
yeah, like, yeah, I don't want to necessarily speak on that because I don't know too much about it. I'm not too much into the social media world and stuff. I don't know too much stuff. But for that, just in general, if that's just the only reason why you want to do that, that is, you're doing it for all the wrong reasons. And that would be a reason to why you would get into this and feel unfulfilled, because it is not at all a soft life where you ain't doing nothing, you
Well,
sitting down and,
yeah, you have to be resourceful.
yeah.
But I think those women come from a place of destitute, or either of hard living, that they've seen enough and they just really want to be
Yeah.
taken care of,
Right.
taken care for.
Yeah.
But they lack the skills of being a
Actually
homemaker.
doing it. Yeah.
You know, but I mean,
Yeah.
all of these things can be learned along the way, especially if you have a patient man to support you.
Right.
Someone who's patient and is a strong provider and support you.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. That's so true.
That dynamic has to mesh well. It really does.
It does.
And I mean, unfortunately, not everyone will have this opportunity, but it is a wonderful opportunity if you are able to experience it. I believe.
Yeah, it really is. Homemakers also save families money. So aside from being able to make money if you need to on the side with your own freedom, but also you save money. So statistically, the average homemaker saves their family an estimate of $178,000 per year in childcare, housekeeping, and cooking costs.
Mm-hmm.
That is a huge amount of money, because often too, what I think about is, all right, you have a man and a woman, and they're both working outside the house, and then you have kids. When you bring in kids in the picture, if the man and the woman are both making average wages, a lot of the times with the kid in daycare alone, that's going to take up all of the wife's possible
with the
income.
Price, and then price of gasoline, especially if you have to work a 9 to 5 and travel to work.
Exactly.
And what about if she doesn't cook? Then you're spending money
food, because she's tired. Yep. So she might not be able to cook if she don't work. I don't know. Some women don't. I cooked when I worked, but so again, that's that. Work ethic. Your work ethic has to be strong. You can't be no lazy homemaker. Like, this just, it doesn't work. You can't.
That doesn't make.
Yeah, it doesn't, because often, in fact, homemakers, you're cooking meals from scratch. You're being able to sew clothes. You're even doing home repairs. You're the one that can actually help on some of the house stuff around the house and stuff like
clothes.
that.
I mend clothes.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I have a sewing machine.
Yeah.
So I'm resourceful too. So outside of being professional, I know how to do. I actually learned that in home ec. So when unfortunately they're if they have not already taken home ec away out of school, it really taught me something, because I was able to make a bag in home ec, and that taught me a lot.
Right. These are great skills that a homemaker is able to utilize and do. And then this is a significant amount of money that's saved within the house. I take it a little step further. I make all of our personal care stuffs, our body butters, our deodorants, our soaps, all of that stuff I make from scratch. Not only is it eco-friendly, it's better for our skin because they're natural organic products, guysgold.com, but they're also just great for your health as well. So not only am I saving our family money, but I'm benefiting our health as well. There is it is such an underappreciated skills that, and abilities that a homemaker has to really benefit her family. And that is something that I think a lot of men do understand when they really look at.
Take pride in that. I mean, for some people that's a flex. For some men to say that, hey, my wife is a homemaker.
It should be. Applaud to all those hardworking men. Again, and I'm going to keep shouting this out, and even at the end, because the men that support this and allow and work hard for their woman to do this and aspire for this. I really think a man should aspire to have a woman come on his team as his queen in this chessboard called life, and to actually help him do things throughout life. It is one of the biggest advantages that you could possibly do if you strive to be a righteous man. You will be awarded a wonderful wife who I really think will support that. But again, it takes a righteous man. It really does, to understand that. But also, the homemaker's unpaid labor really does contribute to the economy, believe it or not, in a number of ways. Because, for example, not only does it reduce the demand of childcare, think about all the daycares that were constantly
Full
searching for somebody to
during COVID.
during
Yeah.
COVID, because they were full or whatever. Thank you. But yeah, even elderly care services too. Homemakers, especially for statistically, believe it or not, the average homemaker right now is the age of 47 years old. So if the average homemaker being 47, you're looking more at elderly care could probably be included in that as
Oh
well.
yeah, yeah.
If the parents are older and they have the opportunity to then help and take care of their own parents. So it really does just help contribute to being able to care for
Family.
family. And it also frees up the other family members from doing a lot of the things. So a man is actually able to become more productive within society because he's not having to worry about home so much, having to cook and clean and having to do all these other things. And then also he has the support of his woman whenever whatever task that he needs. So it just really does lead to overall increase in productivity and outside of the workforce. So that's something really to consider too, as a reasoning to want to aspire to be a homemaker or to have your wife be a homemaker as well. And one more big one is that homemakers also contribute to the overall well-being of their communities by volunteering and volunteering their time and talents. I know plenty of homemakers who are out here not, and you all probably do too. If you look at, like, especially back then within like the churches, that was really big. The homemakers were usually the ones that were teaching Sunday school or like helping put together food drives and stuff like that. Again, it affords us, if we have even the blessing of our husbands and not have to bring in money for a lot of things, we're able to volunteer our time and our talents of doing stuff for the community as well. We operate on a daily basis from a service-based perspective. So every single thing that we do all the time comes from a service-based place because it's just how we are. This is where, how we think, while we operate.
That's where your experience is.
Yeah. And naturally we're fulfilled doing that. It gives us joy volunteering and stuff. This provides great opportunities for being able to uplift our communities as well. So certainly one reason to want to be a homemaker. And I hope for this lady that has asked what's my experience, and you can see that being a homemaker is super fulfilling. It is a job that I will gladly take any day over any other job, and I'm thankful for that, to be able to have that opportunity. So yeah. Woo. Here are some ways that we can show appreciation, though. Now I'm good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Here are some ways, though, that we can show appreciation, though, for the homemakers out there. That this again is an appreciation show, and we want to thank all the women who are out here. I think one, you did tell me that some of the comments were saying that the women were actually sticking up for me, I guess, as saying like, oh, I'm not retired, I guess, because of the hard work that it is. But that, I mean, I get what they're saying, but it's perspective, because I don't look at it like that. But perspective wise, it is important that you acknowledge the hard work that homemakers do and to appreciate them. So if your mother is able to be a homemaker, for the young viewers out there, or your wife is a homemaker, making sure to help out around the house sometimes, maybe scheduling a day where your homemaker doesn't have to cook, or maybe if it's something that you like, your favorite dish that you like to cook, whatever, helping out with chores and stuff like that. That's a great way to show your appreciation, not only on Mother's Day or just any other day, but just being able to do something like that. It's really nice.
Right. I look for every opportunity to help out.
Yeah, you do. And I appreciate that all the time.
I mean, that's the dynamic that it takes, though, because you need to be relieved as well. Especially when I come home.
With the kids. Because they love seeing you anyway. So it's always nice to have you take on that. Yeah, for sure. Yep. You can give gifts, of course, but it's one thing I can always say about like the mindset of a lot of homemakers, we don't so much look to be rewarded often for the work that we do, because we consider it
it's
just
something
duty. That we do, but it's always nice to show thoughtful ways. So buy flowers or their favorite gift from a candy store or whatever it is, just showing your appreciation in that way. Or spending time with them. I love our date nights and stuff like that, that being able to connect with them, taking them outside of their day-to-day, and actually connect with them.
I wanted to add too, like for the fathers to spend time with the children on the weekends while your wife is out, shopping or whatever the case may be, going grocery shopping, or letting her have that break.
Yeah.
That helps out a lot.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. And of course, to all my homemakers out there, that we do have a lot on our plate, so it's super important that you don't neglect yourself. So it is a huge part of your responsibility to take care of yourself, along with being able to do all the things you need to do, because if your cup is empty, you really aren't able to serve from that. So just being sure to do some of these things that are required, not only for you to be healthy, but in general to help you do your job, like eating a healthy diet, not taking in excess amounts of caffeine or like alcohol or anything like that. Being able to,
Sugary drinks,
yeah,
processed foods.
because that really does help keep your mind going, because believe it or not, it is a mental game a lot of the time, especially if you're getting in the fact that if you're missing out on sleep, if you have a newborn or whatever the case may be. What you take into your body is going to give you that energy to help you go along, if you're not getting energy from sleep and stuff like that. So of course, making sure to exercise, incorporate your children into this if you really need to, but making sure to get in some good exercise so that you can get those brain dopamines going too. Getting enough sleep. I think the average adult is supposed to get like 7 to 8
7 to
hours
8
of
hours of
sleep.
sleep. Yes.
Of course, I don't get that, but I definitely recommend that you get your naps in. If you don't, sometimes you work hard, truth be told, and I've always been a hard worker, so this comes easy for me. But making sure that you are able to be up on your energy and being able to cope better with stress because you have gotten enough sleep will make a world of a difference in your dynamic in your day-to-day life. And then also taking your breaks. Sometimes you can be overwhelmed with everything that's going on. If you are going through new transitions or anything of that nature, making sure to take that time and taking a break, practice your relaxation techniques, doing the things that you can do to center yourself. Within our Wife Economics course, the last week, we talk about being a feminine asset, and in particular, knowing how to handle a home. We go all into all the different things, the routines and tips and tricks that you can really help when it comes to being a homemaker and making sure that you're equipped, mind, body, and spirit of taking on this role that is really important to our society and as well. But let me see. Anything else? You got anything else to add? I do want to get into this request to join live too, but I'm trying to think if there was anything else that I put. Oh, of course, doing the things that you enjoy, making sure to get out and doing your social interactions with other people besides if your children, if you are raising children, being sure to get some other interactions with other people. That's super important. What is it? Cabin fever is very real. So taking the time to use those opportunities so that you can get out. A lot of times women get into this role and we weigh ourselves so down and we forget that it is other things that we have to be mindful of because of the role that we take on. So you want to be able to get outside your environment because your day-to-day is so routine. You want to make sure to get that time so that you can get that relief and do the things that you enjoy. Spend the time with your loved ones, your friends, your family, and overall just be kind to yourself, because often we as homemakers, we put our family needs before our needs. Majority of the time we do that. So just making sure to be kind to yourself and give yourself those boundaries to where if it's too much, if somebody's asking you to do something and it's too much for you, know that it is okay to say, hey, this is too much. Let me get some rest or take some time or do whatever I need to do for myself before I, go into doing those service jobs that you do. But yep, I think that is all I have for the most part. If you want to get into this call, the video call. Let me see. Hold on. Let me pick. I'm going to go ahead and let you in. Let's see here. If it's still, I don't know. It's not going. I'm still new to this. I don't know. If you're, what's the too fresh? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Interesting username. But if you want to still go live, we're ready to go live with you.
Yeah, they just have to accept it on their end. If they haven't already, they may have moved on or something. Yeah. You may have answered their question.
Yes.
for them.
Yeah. One
What's
last thing though, huh?
what's this
Just as somebody joined.
right down here?
Yeah, the request thing that they did.
Oh, okay.
Uh-huh. One last thing though, I wanted to say what? Oh, her teeth. One last thing though, I did want to say that for oh my gosh, why did I do that? Our TV just randomly cut on. That is so silly. I did want to thank all the men who choose to provide for homemakers. Although this is a homemaker appreciation show, I could never let this show end without making sure to really say thank you. What's that little thing that got is trending? And my man, thank you to my man, and thank you to all the men out here who understand the vital role that homemakers actually have. And you work hard so that a homemaker is able to do her job as well. So you understand that stay-at-home moms aren't, or housewives are way more than just, people who just work for you in the house. You really understand the vital role that we have and you support us in that. And I just really want to take the time out and thank all the men who understand this, who are working towards this. If you want your wife to be a housewife or a homemaker, I love the term homemaker more in particular because, again, housewife. It's to me, it seems it's more than that. You're really making a home and contributing to the emotional support and mental and physical and stability and support of your whole family. So I really it's a making job that you're doing every single day. But just for the men who are allowing women to do this and to take on the financial load of the family, you are appreciated, you are valued, and this is never something that we could ever take for granted because again, like I said, the amount of freedom that you get as a homemaker, the creative freedom that you get, it really is able to make a difference in the lives of the families and communities. I honestly wouldn't be able to do Wife Economics, or we probably wouldn't be able to do Blueprint Family Jewels if I was not a homemaker and I had the time to be able to, for a whole year before this was even a materialized thought. It was a thought that I sat on for a whole year where I analyzed our life, how things were working with homeschooling our kids, your work schedule, and just taking care of the home and trying to figure out how we could fit in something like this, being of service to our community within our household. This is something that we wouldn't have been able to do if I wasn't in this position. So I thank you for that. And God, of course, rewards you every single day through it. And I think a lot of people, when they think about, the fear of it, it's a one income or whatever the case may be, and you may be fearful of that. You really do have to understand that God really does favor a family when they stand strong on not only being vigilant in taking care of their finances and working towards goals and the stability and creating that environment and to be able to do that, but
Right.
God just favors you overall in general because you're working towards having that strong, stable household in the divine order of kind of how things were naturally meant to be, supposed to be. So again, thank you for all the men and thank you for all the homemakers out there for the help and the work that you do to create a more equitable society, and your unpaid work, because you don't get your physical money for it, but you are paid in the work that you do and you see it through the results of your children. And so thank you. And I am, yeah,
Right.
I'm
And
greatly
I
fulfilled.
remember one question someone said about what about her money or her savings or whatever the case may be. Well,
Yes.
the way that I look at her money is my money is her money. So that is our money. So we sit down and we budget that accordingly.
Yeah,
Um,
and you can also have a 401k. That's the beautiful thing of legally, you are allowed to have a separate 401k for your homemaker. That is possible. You can contribute to a separate
for
401k.
retirement.
Yes, and then again, you cannot forget the fact that what I all the money that whatever money I make from any other thing, like you said, I bring that back home to you, and we're able to budget that and put that aside so that we're all
Or
yeah,
invest it
right, or
somehow.
invested. Mainly importantly, that's a lot of the things that we do. We really invest a lot of that money. So it and the cool thing again, it's that creative freedom. you never know what idea may hit big to where it's able to afford you the opportunity to not also have to work,
Right.
for somebody else, but to actually have financial freedom within yourself.
Right.
So
I did want to
yeah.
just say this too, that for men who would want to be uh, married to a housewife, make sure that well, if you're dating, make sure the intention is there of the wife, that she
Yeah.
will want to one day be a housewife. Set that boundary early, because you will know whether or not you're able to marry this woman, and those are also her intentions.
Yeah.
This isn't something that will probably, if she's a career driven woman, and you marry her, she's more than likely probably won't want to be a housewife, depending
Right.
on what her career is. She may not like her job or what have you. But that is my advice to men who are looking for a wife to be a housewife. Is that they're people are probably, people don't like change. A lot of times they're not receptive to it. So
Yeah.
trying to have a conversation with your wife now, and you all are already probably 10, 15 years or what have you into your relationship, or 5 years, and then
Right.
you thinking that, hey, I really would want you to be a housewife. I
Yeah.
always wanted it. You should have voiced that in the beginning of the relationship before you all got
Right.
married.
To be fair.
To be
Yeah.
fair, those boundaries need to have been set while you all were dating or engaged to each other.
Right.
So understand that, that is just my, that's my jewel that I'm dropping to these guys out here who want a housewife. And
Yeah.
I understand that this situation may be rare, but it can happen. Like my wife said, if you're goal driven and it's something that you want to work towards, I think a
Yeah.
lot of people just aren't working towards goals in their relationships. They're just going about it in a about manner, and just letting the relationship take them for a ride, as opposed to them taking control of their relationships and setting goals. So,
Yeah.
with that being said, anybody have any questions, any comments? I know that other person wanted to join live tonight, but was unsuccessful. Maybe we answered all of their questions and they had no other questions. But if anyone have anything, it doesn't have to necessarily be on topic of housewives. But
Yeah.
do you all, anybody out there who wants us to talk about anything else next time, please drop us a comment, submit a hit us in our message, submit a DM, or either if you want to remain anonymous, you can also go to www.wifeconomics.com/submit a question, and we will get to your topic there and your question there. But if no one has anything to say, we thank you all for your support. Like
Yeah.
like we say every night, we do this for you all, the community.
Yes.
If you all ever have anything that you all want to say, or if it's something that's in private, or if you want us to give you more details about your issue or your situation, you can always
Customize it.
schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can always schedule a consultation with us, and we will give you that time. We will give you that space so that we can better understand your situation, and take it from there.
Work towards solutions.
Right,
That's what
and
I
work
really
towards
like to think
solution.
of. Yeah.
So that's what's different about our show, is that we're more solution driven, and results driven than a lot of other YouTube videos and people on the internet.
Yeah.
We're more so wanting to leave you with solutions and give you
Valuable
resolutions
tips.
and
Yep.
valuable tips on
Yeah.
family, dating, and marriage.
Yep.
So I guess we don't have anything, but with that being said, we really appreciate you all joining us tonight,
Yeah.
and every night. So
Tomorrow is Friday.
yep,
Woo-hoo.
Marriage Fit Friday. So we got to pick a topic that it correlates to marriage, and either getting to marriage or something that has to do with marriage.
Maybe we'll talk about the men tomorrow, because being with this question, for the women and her saying she wanted to be a housewife, it's super important that, and really valuable, if the man is prepared himself, and what that looks like for how to get prepared for that opportunity to do
So how
something
to
like
get your
that.
wife to become how to prepare and provide for a housewife.
Yeah, or maybe even like goal driven. I don't know. Yeah, that's something to think about. Something
Goal
you could,
driven, the goals.
yeah, towards. I don't know. It's just a thought. I
No,
really
I
don't
mean, I
know.
think that makes sense. I mean, because a lot of people don't, life doesn't give you a manual. Every
No.
situation is different. So it all
Right.
depends on what your goals are. If you're trying to achieve it, you don't necessarily know how.
Yeah.
So you have to look to some other source, whether it's a elder or somebody who's actually in the situation in order to get the knowledge.
Right.
So yeah, we could possibly do that. I mean, I think that'd be a good show.
Yeah.
To drop those jewels there for that information. So
Yeah.
all right, thank you. Thank you, Blueprint family. Thank you all for coming out tonight. You all have a wonderful night. Peace.